Yeah, so I think we can make a start today. So thank you everybody for joining us for today's session. My name's Sammy Charlie and I'm a marketing executive for the University of Liverpool online programs. I'm also joined today by Rob Stevens and Nicola Birch, and they'll be taking you through bits in the bit later on. So we'll go through that when it gets to it. So I'm just going to briefly introduce to you the University of Liverpool online programs, the stature of the university, the reputation, and then I'm going to pass on to Rob later on, who's going to provide an insight into the Finance and Investment Management MSc program. Nicola will then highlight the admissions process. We'll also have time for questions at the end of the session, so do feel free to drop them in the chat or in the Q&A as we go, and we'll pick those up at the end of the session. So first of all, the University of Liverpool is a well-respected UK university. It's a founding member of the Russell Group. It's a group that represents the top 24 universities in the UK. And the university has many strengths in areas such as health, computing, and management. The university has a significant number of international students, mostly online, and is associated with 9 Nobel laureates as well. In addition to that, the university has a big presence worldwide as well. It's ranked in the top 200 of universities there as well. So it has a big presence worldwide as much as it does in the UK. And next year, we're going to be celebrating 25 years of delivering online programs, as the University of Liverpool Online Programs was founded in the year 2000 and has been pioneering higher education online since. So the online master's programs offered by the university are designed to work around you as a part-time postgraduate student, and likely as an international student as well. Although we still have many UK-based students taking our courses. You'll have opportunity to engage with materials in your own time through our virtual learning environment, our VLE. There are also some live sessions, but they're usually not compulsory for you, although they're a really good opportunity for you to engage with other students in those sessions as well. We have a real strong student community, and we try to ensure that online students have a good level of engagement with their fellow students and teaching staff. The course materials developed by staff are designed for an online environment, and our programs are just they're a lot more than just reading off a list. They're interactive, they can be challenging, but there's also a high level of support from our academics and student support team. This is all to ensure that you are as successful as possible in your studies. Students who successfully complete their studies graduate from the University of Liverpool and are awarded a Liverpool postgraduate degree certificate. So you're getting the exact same as students who study on campus, and you get to celebrate on campus as well as when you graduate. So I'm now going to hand over to Rob, who's going to talk through the Finance and Investment Management program.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rob Stevens. My background before I came to the university was in private education. So I taught towards exam-based training for one of the largest multinational private training companies, and then I moved in to set up another company of my own. I was in that market for 20 years, and then I joined the University of Liverpool 7 years ago, and I've always been involved in the online programs. And for me, it was a massive eye-opener to see the amount of work and the amount of investment that universities put into online programs, and I'll say a little bit about that as we go. But the focus between private training and university training could not be different. Okay, and if we just look at this first paragraph, I'm not going to read paragraphs all the way through this, but It says a career in finance and investment management is both extremely varied and rewarding. The best and most adaptive businesses today prioritize financial and investment management to improve profitability, provide economic stability, and increase the valuation of the organization. And I just wanted to obviously point out, with our degree, that's what all the content is aimed at. It's aimed at techniques where you improve profitability for businesses, understand the economic environment, and understand how to deal and manage with economic environments, as well as building value for organizations. The people that we have coming into the program come from a range of backgrounds, and there are various ways in which you could be successful for a place on the program. Some of those people are newly qualified graduates, and we also have people returning to study after maybe 10 or 15 or 20 years of private or working in employment. And I think both of those types of individual coming in bring a different perspective and give different value to the success of the program. You'll notice also that as we go through this, that there is a CFA flavor to the program itself. And I don't want that to put you off, but I'll talk a little bit about why we are affiliated with the CFA and where I see some of the benefits in that. If you then follow the second paragraph there, we talk about the fact that the university is an AACSB, AMBER, and EQUIS accredited management school. There aren't too many universities that are what we call triple accredited, so it's a great achievement. And that's largely based on the standards that we uphold within the university. Within every management school, we have different departments, and the finance and investment management program sits within the accounting and finance department of Liverpool, along with other accounting and finance undergrad and postgraduate programs. Towards the end of that paragraph, we talk about equipping you with intellectual learning and professional skills. And I think this is really important to focus on. It's not a self-serve program. In other words, it's not 8 weeks of pre-recorded material, which you watch at your leisure and at the end get given a certificate. We encourage people to be interactive. Our exercises are designed so that you work with your peers, you work with your lecturer, who is there with you for the entire 8 weeks of any particular module. We understand some people will be taking maybe private exams at the same time as this degree, and our course will support you in that. But first and foremost, we are a Russell Group University, and it is a formal MSc. And as you've heard, this MSc in Finance and Investment Management carries the same weighting as any other MSc that you might get from the University of Liverpool. Okay, can we move to the next slide, please? That's great. So I said I'd say a little bit about CFA affiliation. The program itself the design of the program started in 2020. And I want to stress that the University of Liverpool does not have online programs driven by the COVID pandemic. And I think some courses have developed over that period because more and more study has moved more towards an online basis. The university has about 25 years of experience in delivering academic programs. And while I started designing this program in 2020, the first students embarked on this in January 2022. And the first of those students will graduate in 2025. So we typically say students will take anywhere around 30 months to get through the qualification, maybe a little bit more. But that's the amount of work ahead of everybody when they embark on a program. When I started designing that program, to get affiliation, you need to have people embarked on the journey. And we got our affiliation in 2022, the first year that students were set up on the program, which was great. And what does it mean? It means that we are relevant, really. To be affiliated, you have to match at least 70% of what the CFA call their body of knowledge. And that's a syllabus, effectively. And what we will do on the program, we'll take our learning up between level 1, level 2 of that body of knowledge. So you wouldn't know as much as somebody who was CFA qualified, but as I've said, this program is not about that. It's about supporting some of the core content, but it's about delivering a master's program. CFA don't approve anybody unless they meet a certain institutional quality. And there was a long time before they would accept any online partners to be affiliated with. And we're very proud that we are a partner. The university has about another 3 programs on campus that are also affiliated. And again, just to re-stress, I seem to say this a lot. We're not preparing you for a CFA exam. I've taught to exam-based training, as I've said, for 20 years. We don't teach to exams. We are there to build knowledge and skills. And therefore, you'll find that the structure of the course is all about pushing you towards new teachings, readings, and the assessments themselves are designed to give you practical and academic opportunities to develop. Okay, can we move to the next slide, please? Okay, now I'm not going to go into each of these modules in any detail, purely because we have got module specifications. And if you wanted to know some more detail, then we can provide that. Each of these modules is 15 credits. In total, there's 180 credits across the 9 modules. I guess the major difference between this program and maybe professional programs is we end up with a dissertation, a 60-credit, 40-week dissertation, and that's where you carry out independent research in order to deliver a piece of work which is a great opportunity for you to reflect on and deliver what you've learned over the previous 30 months or more. The research methods is a module which is made up partly between some of the quantitative techniques that the CFA want us to develop, but also we're teaching you there how to develop research literature. Okay, so we'll go all the way through that research methods module, and it will culminate in a project proposal. And that project proposal is something that you take through into your dissertation, and then you work through. And you can see now why this is very much a flavor. This was the intention all along. We're trying to mix with these programs the practical and the academic. We want people to come out feeling not that they've been given an MSc because they've just studied with Liverpool, but they've actually developed the same skills and expertise that they would have done had they been on campus doing a master's program. At the same time, we do want you to develop practical skills in all of the above areas. And we do that, as I say, through the teachings, but also in the assessments. Sometimes our assessment might require you to write a report analysing the particular performance of a company. Or we might have situations where you work as groups and you present to a fictional board on findings from a particular query or question that you've been presented with as part of the studies. So the assessments are very varied and they differ through each of those modules. Okay, and as I've said, we can provide more detail, but this probably isn't the place for that. If we move to the next slide, please. Okay, I'll just say a little bit about the design. When it comes to rolling out an online program, we've never been able to, and we never would be able to, have an idea and get it launched in a short period of time. To get the module approved, we have to go through exactly the same processes as if this was a program delivered on campus. So the first bullet point, the people who've written the modules are subject experts in each particular module. So I spoke to my colleagues in the accounting and finance team, and between us, we've written the 9 modules. We talk about it being stress tested by alumni, employers, and other stakeholders. Before we got this program off the ground, we had a sequence of events where I sat with past students, employers who've used University of Liverpool, and other parties to really probe into how the program was going to work, whether it was going to meet its learning objectives, whether it was relevant, whether it was updatable. And only when those questions can be set were we able to carry on and further develop the program. We go through something called university acceptance, and that requires us to go through, say, 3 or 4 stages until we eventually get the rubber stamp that program can then be launched. If you're worried about starting an online program, we have, if you look at the last bullet point, an induction module. So you'd normally have a 2-week induction before you'd roll into your first 8-week module. And that 2 weeks is there to show you how to navigate through a module. It'll show you how to research from our university library systems. It'll show you or re-acquaint you with the academic integrity standards that you're expected to uphold when you write academic literature. But all in all, after 2 weeks, you'll feel comfortable that when you move into your first module, you're well equipped to be successful. We don't throw you in at the deep end. There's lots of support all the way through. Okay, can we move to the next slide? Okay. And again, we want a consistent look and feel. So when you go to each module, every module isn't always assessed exactly the same way. The focus on the lecture casts are not identical because they're built by each individual lecturer to present the data in the way that they seem is most valuable. However, when you go from module to module, they do look the same. When you want to view a lecture cast, the lecture cast production has been done by the same technical team. You will always be pushed in towards readings to develop your knowledge. The practical activities will vary depending on the module that you're looking at and what that module author thought was most useful for a student in their areas. You'll notice that we can have seminar sessions which are asynchronous. That means it's not happening at the same time as it's being delivered. But we also have synchronous sessions. And that's what we sometimes call as a live session. For my modules, it's a requirement of the CFA that we have some live teaching as part of the course. This doesn't happen on most master's programs. It happens on the MBA, but not the other programs as much. And that's a really useful way for you to get in front of your lecturer one-to-one in order to either work through sessions that have been prepared or for you to also query with the lecturer to firm up on content that you've been studying that particular week. And a lot of students get a lot of benefit from embracing in those synchronous sessions. What I would say at this stage, as an online program, it's really critical that for everything that you're asked to do, you jump in and you fully embrace in it. What you don't want to do with a master's program is look at the assignments, start working on the assignments, and not engaging in all the content leading up to that final submission. Okay, so we encourage people to be working all the way through each week. We've planned out roughly 20 hours of work for every week on an 8-week module. And we would expect people to be doing somewhere between around 15 to 20 hours a week in order to build that content up. If you've only got 5 hours per week to spare, it's probably not the program for you. But if you've got the ability to embrace and to put the time and effort in, the rewards are excellent. Okay, can we move to the next slide? I wanted to briefly mention this. When I showed you the modules, you saw that they were in order, starting in corporate finance, ending up in the research methods module, and then you went into dissertation. The first 4 modules, starting with corporate finance and ending, I think, with portfolio management, I think that was the 4th. If you enter into the postgraduate certificate program, you would only complete those 4 modules and you would get your degree. These are what we call entry awards. If you completed all the taught courses, that's all the 15 credit modules, excluding the depreciation, that would give you a diploma. And if you complete the dissertation as well, you get the MSc. You can embark on a certificate, see how you go, and potentially move on to a diploma, likewise diploma to MScs. But it's less common than people who just embark straight away into the MSc program. Okay, so the MSc program is by far the biggest intake. We might have a small number of people on the certificates and the diploma, but those entry routes are possible. We find people who want to get lots of technical knowledge, but they don't want to embark in a dissertation, and therefore a diploma suits them much better. Okay, should we move on? Okay, and finally, well, this is the penultimate slide. I mentioned earlier that we've got the AACSB, AMBER, and EQUIS accreditation. AMBER is an accreditation related to the quality of our MBA program. I mentioned with the program, it is largely academic as well as building your practical and employable skills. And that's why we follow this academic push, because it fits in with what we are about. We're a Russell Group university. The Russell Group is a recognition of the research excellence in any organization. Okay, and so that's why we are what we are. That's why the quality of the degree is so well respected. And I just want to mention on the bottom about the fact that while we've got this great reputation, we talk about the school providing a dedicated team of career specialists with international expertise. The university has expertise in all areas. So whether that's helping you develop employability skills, through to the practical day-to-day support of a librarian to help you access academic literature, to the student support teams that you have week in, week out, day in, day out to help you with your journey. The course is structured so that you will never feel alone. If you've got an issue in any area whatsoever, whether that's personal, whether that's academic, whether that's you want to broaden your subscriptions and be able to read more literature, academic or professional, we do have those facilities in-house and accessible at the click of a key. Okay, and if we just move to the last slide for me. I just want to bring you up to date, really. I mean, my experience with academic programs started with a previous program which was not as high ranking, I'd say, as the current finance and investment management program. And I think some of that is to do with the fact that maybe that program was a legacy system which I took over, a legacy program which was less relevant to the real world. The FIM program is very relevant, very attractive, and it's now taking student numbers in, not too dissimilar to the MBA. The MBA is the flagship of the management portfolio, and that's really great news to have. We've just had another excellent recruitment session in October 2024. If we recruit lots of students, you might wonder, does that mean I'm in a crowded class? Well, no. As soon as we go above around 20 students, we break the class up. So if you had 30 students, there would be 2 classes of 15. If there were 50 students, there would be 3 classes open and running at the same time. And that's why we have to have an excellent bank of lecturers. So we have a number of lecturers who are very good at teaching and have experience in teaching, not just the subject, but our modules. And therefore, where they're called upon, they can use their previous experience of teaching our modules in order to provide a seamless session for you should you embark on that particular module. We also don't see the program as being stagnant. We see it as needing to evolve and also to improve. So I mentioned the research methods module. When that was launched, some of the way in which the weeks were designed weren't as useful for students to get the main benefit from that research module. And after the first run, I was able to look with the design team at ways in which we could move some of the delivery around so it worked better and therefore was much more enjoyable and much more manageable for students. And we do that periodically where we see it. But the research methods, I would say, is one where we had to get it right and it was difficult to make it work. But now it's working effortlessly, which is great. Okay, and I will now hand you over to Nicola.
Thanks, Rob. Hi, I'm Nicola, and I'm the manager of the admissions team. And I'm going to just take you through the next step, really, how to apply and some other information that you might want to, take on board. So to apply, if you want to apply, you need to complete an online application form, and that will ask you to provide information such as personal details, the programme you wish to apply for, and the start date. And just a general overview of your background, your academic and professional background. You'll need to include certain documents with your application, and this is really important. We see quite a lot of applications come through that don't have the documents attached, and it really just means that we have to come back to you and ask you for them. So if you can do it all at the same time, we can get everything done so much quicker. So the certain things that you would need to provide are a valid ID, so that could be like a passport or a driving license, but it must have a date of birth on it, an up-to-date CV with details about each role and responsibility, your educational certificates, and if these are not in English, these need to be translated as well, and any professional certificates that you might have taken since taking your degree that you think may help your application. A personal statement, and these needs to be between 300 and 500 words, and it should include, information about your motivation for studying the programme, any previous experience and how it relates to the programme, and then a little bit about your future, your ambitions, and what you want to achieve with this qualification in regards to your career. Then we also may need, not for everybody, but we might need some English language evidence. So for international applicants, this could be an IELTS or it might be a high school certificate. But if you're not sure, I would just say upload any documents that you have, and then one of our advisors will be able to support you with anything that needs to change on that. Next slide, please. So the admissions process. So you'll be assigned a personal admissions advisor right from day one. And this advisor, their role is to help you through the process from the first inquiry all the way through to enrolment. So you'll speak to the same person. The admissions advisors are there to offer guidance and support on each of the programmes. And your advisor will be happy to help you to understand the entry requirements or any different information that you might not have that you can't find on the website. They'll give you advice on how the programme can help you with your career goals and any experience that you might be appropriate for. The advisors will also ensure that the documents you provided are suitable and that you'll be able to send us any other documents missing. They'll ask you for those, so you don't need to worry too much. They'll always be there to provide support and help. We can also advise on the personal statement writing. So this may be something that you've not done before, or you might have done it, previously for a long time ago. So they can help you with that, just to make sure that you understand what's required and that you get it right, so that can be assessed with your application. When you're ready to apply, you do directly on our website. Couldn't be easier. Just a click of a button. There's no fee, so you don't have to pay for any of this. It's completely free and it's really easy to follow. I'm quite new in this role, and I actually filled out an application form just last week just to see what it was like, and it was really easy. So if I can do it, you could do it. So when you're ready to apply, do it on the website, and then your application is then reviewed by one of our admissions advisors. Who, again, like I say, they'll make sure that your documents are suitable and eligible, and that the application is as strong as possible before it goes to the next stage. So the next stage would then be for this to be reviewed with the admissions manager and the director of studies, and they will have the final check to make sure that you're suitable for the course and this is the right level for you. If you are then approved, you would then be issued with an offer letter, which can confirm your place and the next steps for your journey. So you'll need to accept your place on the course and then pay a deposit to secure your place. And then you don't have to pay anything else until your studies begin. Next slide, please. So these are the fees. So these are all on our website as well. So as you can see, the PG certificate is 5,623. And as Rob said earlier, that's for 10 months. Then you've got the postgraduate diploma, which is 11,246, and that's for 20 months. And then obviously the most popular one is our master's degree, which is for 30 months, and that's at £16,868. We do have monthly payment plans, so we understand that's quite a lot of money for you to find straight away. So most of our students choose to pay monthly, and then we'll sort that out for you once you accept your offer. That will come with your offer. The payments are divided equally by the months of study, and you can set up a payment that comes directly out of your bank each month, so you don't even have to worry about it. It just comes out directly, and we can help you to organise that. Just be aware, though, that obviously these are subject to change. You know, it's not unlikely that they're going to change, but they are reviewed annually. So just to let you know that. Regional scholarships. So we do have some scholarships available. So the regional scholarships are based on the place that you are living. So these can be up to 20%, and they're automatically applied to your application. Like, I've worked at universities before where they've got a set amount of scholarships, and you have to basically apply for them. You're put into a pool, and then like 20 students get these scholarships. That's not the case with our scholarships and discounts. Everyone will, if you're eligible, you will get your scholarship. So regional scholarships are up to 20%. We'll be able to tell you what your scholarship eligibility is when you apply, because like I say, it depends on where you live. We also offer a 5% discount if you choose to pay up front. So that would be on top of your any regional scholarships. And then if you are an alumni of the University of Liverpool, you can get a 10% alumni discount as well. That can't be combined with others' discounts, though. So say you've got a regional discount and your discount is 20%, and then you've got an alumni discount of 10%, we would choose the highest one. So you would get the 20%. Next slide, please. And most importantly, when's the intakes? Well, we've got one coming pretty soon. So the 14th of January is our next intake for 2025. We're processing lots of applications as we speak. Obviously, as we get closer to Christmas as well, it gets busier. And then, you know, we've only got a little bit of time in January before you start your course. So I would say that if you are wanting to join our January intake, apply now. Even if you haven't got everything, or you don't think you've got all your documents ready, get the application in now, and then we can work with you to make sure that you don't miss out for the intake in January. But if you do miss out, it's okay. We've got others. We've got one in May, the 27th of May, and we've got another one on the 7th of October.
Thank you so much, Nicola and Rob. That was great for you to take us through that. We've now reached the Q&A section of the session of the webinar. So we invite anybody to submit your questions in, and we'll go through. I think we've got a few of them already, so which is great. So I will get them up now and take a look at them. First of all, we have a question which is about the scholarships. Maybe one for you, Nicola.
Yeah.
The question is, are there full scholarships for prospecting students from Africa? And if yes, how can one apply?
Okay, we don't have full scholarships. We don't have like zero fees on any of our programs. So all of our programs do have a tuition fee attached to them, but we do have scholarships available for African students, which is 20%. So you would get a 20% discount if you're living in Africa.
Okay, thank you. Another question as well is, do we accept any other English proficiency tests aside from the IELTS?
IELTS, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one.
It's a
Yes,
bit of a mouthful.
Yeah, we can accept TOEFL as well, if you've got that. Also, like I said in my presentation, sometimes, depending on where you're from, we can accept high school certificates. So, like I said in my presentation, send it in whatever you've got, and then if we can accept it, fine. If you haven't got an English language test, we do offer one, which is the KITE test, and we can provide that to you free of charge. So we don't charge you like IELTS do to take an English language test. So if you find that you haven't got any English language proficiency test and you need one, we can set that up for you free of charge, and your advisor would help you with that.
Thank you. I had a question about the record. Yes, this session is being recorded. A recording will be provided afterwards, which we'll be in touch with directly and on our online Liverpool programs website as well. So you'll be able to watch it back. Just another question: can I try a demo class or course, maybe for Rob, maybe? Or
yeah, I don't know if I have the answer to that, or I've never seen demo courses being shared, but that doesn't mean that some element is not possible. So we might need to take that away and, ask the relevant questions to the right people. That's not in my gift, unfortunately.
Yeah. We've also had a comment from UG, who's asked if they can have the email address of you, Rob, as they have so many questions to ask. So I'm sure Rob will oblige with that.
That's fine. I don't know do you want me to give it now?
Yeah,
that's fine. Yeah. So I'm just Robert, Robert .Stevens, and it's not a V. How rude of you! It's PH. So STEPHENS. So rob.stevens at liverpool.ac.uk.
Great, thank you so much, Rob. Just a couple more questions, which is great. We've had a question who said, I've graduated from Ho Chi Minh City Open University in Vietnam with a major in banking and finance and a GPA of 3.19. Am I eligible for a scholarship?
So, yes, probably.
Yeah.
To that. If you are living in Vietnam currently, then you would be eligible for a regional scholarship. That depends. I can't tell you whether you're eligible for the program just looking at that, but you would be if you submitted all your documents and you were eligible for the course, you would be eligible for a regional scholarship if you were resident in Vietnam.
Okay, thank you. A few more questions. Since there is no exams, how will students be tested on the same level as on-campus students?
Right. Okay. So there are exams, but there's no formal end of period exam. I'm just going to digress slightly. I think the MBA is the only one of our programs where students do something called a synchronous exam. Well, a proctored exam, where they would sit the exam in real time and they only get that amount of time for that particular exam. That's very rare, and it's a one-off exam on one module, which happens to be a module I've written for the MBA. With finance, your work is typically writing reports. It could be an analysis of some sort that you carry out. It could be a video recording that you record with your peers and submit that in for marking. So in other words, we have lots of pieces of work that are assessed. It's anywhere between 1 and 3 per module, and they would be spread over the 8 weeks. but all of those would be delivered asynchronously. Okay, so you would do them, submit them in, and then they would get marked. What we're looking for, though, is a similar level of depth that we would expect from people on campus. And on campus, some or all of their exams also, for certain modules, could be tested in the same way. We don't test everybody on campus with an end-of-year exam for all of their module mark. That's kind of an outdated way that we would assess at the moment. Okay, so yes, we do set exams, but they're more like coursework, I would say, than a physical exam on a set date at the same time as everybody else.
Great. Another question is about the graduation certificate itself. Will it indicate online study as a method of undertaking the course?
I don't believe it does.
Yeah.
But again, maybe we should take, before, obviously, when people embarking on programs, make sure that we're giving absolutely complete information, and we can get back to that. So I think we've got two questions, haven't we?
Yeah.
One of them is whether or not it says online on the certificate. And then we had the other question earlier, which was about the demo availability. So we can take those two offline. I don't think it does say online, but I'd rather check rather than be categorical with the answer, to be fair to everybody.
Yeah. No, that's great. We've got a question about the induction process. So this person's asking whether the induction starts right after accepting the course place offer, or does it start within the first week of the start day? So which would be the 14th of January is the next intake.
Yeah, I believe 14th of Jan is the induction start date.
Right. And
then you would move into an 8-week module after that. So you'd move straight into corporate finance, module 1. And those induction weeks they're 2-week programs, the induction programs.
Great.
I've got an answer as well to the other one. I was just I was asking my teammates. So the graduation certificate, that one. So apparently let me just double check. So it will be on the transcript, but it's not on the certificate. The certificate is exactly the same as those received by on-campus students. So the answer to that one.
Perfect, thanks.
We all know now.
Thank you, Nicola.
And can I say as well, while we're on this discussion, I'm at graduation. I think it's in 2 weeks' time. Yeah. And at graduation, any online students that can make that graduation, we meet them and we chat to them. But we also have a separate event the day before, just so that it's not all rushed on graduation day. They can also come into the management school, because they likely would never have visited it, and meet the people who've worked with them all the way through their journey, however long that's been. And that's a lovely event. Then they go to graduation the next day with everybody else, just like any other person graduating. And then there's a function after that also, which all graduates attend. Okay, but there's also a special smaller event that we currently run for online students.
Great. Yep. So we'll just we've got a question about so for the 25-hour per week, how many hours will be spent on virtual classes? Do we know?
Oh, so in terms of when we say virtual, do we mean lectures, or do we mean we typically would have a lecture every week, which might last an hour and a half. So the lecture content is not huge. We would expect you to be doing, like I said, it's 10 hours for every unit or every credit. So if a module is 15 credits, over 8 weeks, we'd expect people to do 150 hours. Most people probably don't do quite that, but good students would get in around 15 hours, I would say, per week. But about an hour or so for the lectures. I always say with finance or accounting, it's not like management. with management, you could watch a lecture for an hour and you could actually absorb lots of it within the hour. If it's a bit more technical, an hour lecture might take you 3 hours to wade through, given the extra work that you might need to do to, understand some of those issues. So it's what that word virtual is. I think if it means if it means lectures, probably an hour or so of recorded lectures per week. But remember, there are other things going on. There are synchronous sessions, there are asynchronous exercises. But we only timetable the synchronous sessions. They're the only things that have to happen at that set time on that set date. And if you can't make the synchronous session, we record them so they're available to everybody in that class.
Great, thank you. Got a question whether students in China can apply for the course and study online, and what percentage does the PG Cert cover the body of knowledge of CFA level 1?
We don't do anything beyond, I think we're around 80 or 90% of the body of knowledge. We don't look at, on a certificate, because it's only 4 modules, we don't look at financial reporting, we don't look at derivatives, we don't look at economics. So they are the things that would be missing. And I guess quantitative techniques as well, that area, we wouldn't cover. So if you do the diploma, you're covering all. If you're covering all of our, let's say 80% of the CFA. If you're doing 4 of the modules, it's difficult to put an exact figure on it, but it would be a percentage, 50%, say about 80% that we cover. Okay. But it should be relative to the number of modules that we're, that you're studying. There's only 4 modules in the certificate.
Great. I think we kind of already touched on this, but
can I just answer that question above as well? I can just see.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Which level is this online program? Again, it's somewhere between, it's level 1 and then into level 2. Depending on the module author, they might take it more into some areas, because a topic there might not be too much of a topic, in which case we might get to with all of level 2, but with time demands, certainly level 1, some of level 2 of CFA. Yeah. But it's great to use as a support also for your professional exam. So even if you're doing CFA, not quite getting to that level 3, we are giving lots of support also, as well as following that academic route that we talked about.
Yep. So like I said, I think we kind of mentioned this before, but are the final exams conducted 100% online?
Yeah, nothing's in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just a final question that I can see. So regarding virtual classes, do we have to participate for a fixed time? Kylie, for example, says she has to work a lot for her job, and would like to know if the modules are suitable for her timetable. So I'm just guessing she wants to know if there's some flexibility around.
There's loads of flexibility. As I said, anything synchronous would be recorded anyway. You can watch your lectures whenever you want to watch them. You can do your assessments as long as they're done within that set period. It wouldn't matter too much if you were on work trips, for example. But I think with good planning and with some good advice as well from your support team, certainly we have lots of people who run very busy senior roles around the world. So I wouldn't see a problem with that at all.
Just a final comment I can see here is why is they're asking why the online course is more expensive than the on-campus version?
I'm not sure how much of an on-campus version is.
Yeah,
I haven't checked that. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I'm not sure. What I would say is, I think people underestimate how much time and effort goes into the online the online support administration teams. And I think they often feel, if you think about a lecturer is probably doing much more work on an online course than they are doing on an on-campus course, because they are active every single day for the class that they are managing. An on-campus lecturer wouldn't be busy every day with a particular cohort of students. And just to give you an example as well, just from my personal experience, I'm paid X amount of money, but in my role, I'm Director of Studies for the programme, but I also am Chair of the Board of Examiners for the online programmes in the management school. And I also look and I sit on the academic integrity team. Now, that easily is 50% of my time just alone as an individual. So it is quite an expensive function to offer. There will be some firms that would put out an offering, for example, that is self-serve, like I mentioned at the beginning, where you literally will have everything pre-recorded. You attend the course, get the certificate at the end, but it is it's no less intensive. In fact, I'd say it could even be more intensive in some ways than an on-campus program. Okay, but the rewards are great if you can find the structure that works for you.
And I think the fees are similar to, I'm just looking at, for international students, the fees are very similar to the fees for the online. But obviously, if you are an international student, you don't need to come over here. You don't need to apply for a visa. You don't need to find somewhere to live in the UK. So actually, I mean, my background, I've been working with international students for the last 10 years, but in college services, so student services. And I worked in a college in Brighton. And my students then went on to the University of Brighton to do their MScs. But those students had to find, money to live in the UK on top of, their fees for the international course. So if you are an international student, this is definitely, not as expensive as doing it in person.
Great, thank you. Just another one really. Can students apply to the online program during a master's degree that they might already be in?
I don't know if this is yours, Nicola, but certainly if it's not a policy, we don't typically want to see people who are on current online programs.
It's a difficult one because, it depends. If you're already working as well and you're doing a course already, and then you want to do a second one, like Rob said earlier, we were expecting 20 hours a week for this program minimum, and then if you're holding a job down as well, that would be an extra 40 hours a week you've got to find studying. And I don't think, I just don't think you'd get the best out of the course. You wouldn't be able to give it your all, really, and you'd want to be successful as far as I'm concerned if you're paying this money. So I wouldn't encourage anyone to do side-by-side courses. I would encourage you to focus on one that you can give your all to, because it is a difficult one. I'm sure Rob can tell you more than I can, but it's a full-on course. It's difficult. It is a master's degree. This isn't, it's exactly what you'd be doing if you were coming into the UK, going to the Russell Group University and studying in person. So, it's not an easy way to get the MSc. This, you've got to be dedicated. You've got to give the time.
Great, thank you. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think that's the end of the questions. I just want to say thank you to Nicola and Rob for taking us all through that and answering all the questions. We hope you all found the session worthwhile, and we look forward to hearing from you in due course. So thank you so much for attending. Thank you again, Nicola and Rob. And we look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks a lot. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.
See ya.